to Sourdough podcast episode 2. My name is Olga and I'm coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. In this episode, I have a few things to show you, some knitting, some finished objects and some works in progress, some natural dyeing, some darning, some future ideas, and at the end there will be a little bit of baking where I kind of show you and go through the steps of how I make my basic sourdough bread. So like if I find out, oh my gosh, we're running out of bread and I don't really want to make anything special, I just have sort of like my go-to, which is pretty simple and straightforward. And I'll leave the recipe below. So if you're interested in that, that will be right at the end. I'm not sure how many minutes at the end, maybe I'll put like a timestamp. And yeah, so that's what I have for you today. Welcome. I showed the first part. I want to show you some of my finished objects, but I already showed it a few days ago because all of the finished objects were presents for my friend who had her birthday yesterday. So I videotaped that a few days ago. I'll put it here so you can see. Yeah, so enjoy. Yes, about these socks. That's the parade pattern. So the regular pattern, the actual pattern, it's free pattern Ravelry. I'll link it below. And I actually did a pattern page for those on Ravelry. Very exciting. So I'll probably just link to the pattern page and we'll have all the information there. I did, yeah, so the actual pattern comes with a gasset and a heel. So I did the modifications. It was supposed to look like one row of decreases here because you decrease at the same time from both sides, like in one kind of stitch. You decrease both, like 2-stitch decrease. But then it creates like this one raised row, and I didn't like that look, so I changed to like the regular decreases you do usually at the toe, which is how I usually do the toe. I really also like the toe in this. This is actually from the pattern. And I really like the toe because it turns out really rounded. It's kind of short, but I like it. So I kind of use it a lot in other socks I make now. So you basically do some decreases every other row, and then at the end you do every row for I don't know how many, and you leave quite a few stitches for the Kitchener, which was nice. Yeah, and then I also, there's like a little bit of a gasset on both sides in the after sock heel. And I did the gasset a little bit small. And the only other issue in the socks is even though I really tried to do my best to match the stripes, and they do match, and like the length of, like everything's sort of matching, but somehow one sock is a little bit smaller than the other. Like if I do like that, you can't really see that. But if I kind of go by here, you can totally tell. I don't know why. And here too. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know. Not so sure. So it's like one sock has a bigger foot and a shorter leg, and the other has a longer leg and a shorter foot. I don't know. I don't think it's very noticeable. Definitely not when you look like this or when it's on the feet. Maybe slightly when you put them together, but hopefully she won't be examining them that close. So those are these, and I'm really happy with them. And then the second sort of FO is these pants. So they're basically the leftovers of the yarn from my socks. And I initially, plus some other leftover yarns, and I talked about in the previous episode. I don't think I have a project page for these, and I don't know, I'm too lazy to make it. I don't think I will, even though I might regret it later. But basically it's pants I kind of copied from a pattern. Not a pattern, like my grandma made some pants like that for my son, and then I made very similar, just bigger. So basically you need 2 tubes, like the way you would need sock cuff or what do you call them, leg warmers, up to about here I guess, and then you start increasing only on one side, and then at some point when you feel like that's long enough you stop and you just connect them and you knit everything together. Then you have a little bit of a crotch like Kitchener here, which I finally did. And then I did, the only thing that's missing, like I did a little bit, how do you call I did ribbing, and then I sewed it, like bound it off on where it started. And yeah, and I left a little hole, and I still need to put the elastic. I just bought it today, so I'll put it tonight, and they're ready to go for my friend. So basically my son is too big for it. My daughter will take ages till she fits it, and she has tons of clothes, like woolen as well. So I just felt like I'll give it to my friend, and then she can be matchy-matchy with her son, because her son is 1 year old, and those might fit him, even though those are really for a 2-year-old, I think, maybe 2.5 even. He's pretty long, so I think this might fit him already, and so maybe he'll get a chance to wear it this year. So that's why. And his birthday's in December, and I was planning to give it for his birthday, but then I just forgot. And I gave him other handmade stuff, and then now I suddenly found them, and I thought I'll just give it now, because what if next year they're small or something, and I'll give it to her when it's like too late to be used. So that's these. And then I also wanted to make her another pair of socks that are thicker. And so I made these. They're really wet because I just recently finished them, and I just wet them. Well, just washed them, so they're still drying. I'm really hoping they'll dry till tomorrow. That's fingering weight yarn held double. So the blue is I dyed it with black beans, and this is leftovers I had of what's it called? Macintosh DK, right? I don't remember the colorway. It's like eggplant, maybe. I want to say Macintosh yarn. I don't know how it is today. This is really old. This is like 6-7 year old yarn, but it's amazing because I used it originally. I bought it and I made a cowl out of it, the honey cowl from Pearl Soho, and then I use it a lot. Like I wore it all the time, every winter, and then last winter I already had a different what do you call it, shawl. So I wasn't really wearing it, so I unraveled it. Then I made a sweater for my daughter, and then this year I also like added some. I kind of made the sweater bigger. Or maybe I'll show it in one episode. Anyway, the point I want to make is that she's been wearing the sweater last year and this year, and I wore that cowl for all those years, and the yarn just held amazingly. Like, I know it's a superwash, but it's really like, it doesn't peel. It looks great. Like, it looks as if it was new. Like, the color didn't fade or anything, didn't bleed. It's really great. One thing I have to say is I don't think I washed it much. Like, when it was a cowl, maybe like a few times. And then the sweater, I also try not to wash it too often, but when I do wash it, it is in the washing machine. So, and it still held really great. So I'm really happy about it. Like, well done, Macintosh. Excuse me. Okay, so the pattern here is it's from like Call magazine. I don't know if you saw the KOEL. I'm not sure where they're from. Maybe from Japan. I'm not 100% sure. But it's like a lifestyle magazine, and recently they were advertising on their Instagram. I follow them there, that they have an app with free patterns. So I downloaded the app, and there are these are the free patterns for socks from there. It's really nice. I did modify it a bit. So basically there's a different pattern at the back of the sock, of the calf, and it increases like 14 stitches, and I thought that would be too much because I feel like the socks are already a little bit too big as is, so I didn't want to even make them bigger on the calf. And so I just kind of repeated the pattern in the front and the back, and I didn't do any increases. But everything else I did, it's a bottom up pattern. It's really nice. I like how it looks, but I really did enjoy knitting it bottom up. Also, I started with different yarn. So this is what I started, and I actually started with the recommended needle size, and then I thought it was too big, so I went a size down, I think. So we're on 325 as are these. And I don't know, so I was liking how it went. So I basically held it to double. So this is Mending by Red Rosaria, which everybody seems to be using, so I want to try as well. So it's a non-superwash, I think 100% wool, but it's different. It's not merino, I guess, because this is 100% merino, and it's way softer. Like, this is really soft. That's why I need it like with double, like two strands of yarn held together, in the hopes that will prevent it from um, what do you call it, from having holes and things like that. But yeah, so when I bought it, I kind of liked the colors, and I thought it would be kind of striping, like maybe even micro striping, and it didn't. It pulled, and then I looked on the yarn online, and like on Ravelry, how the socks people knit out of it, and it really pulls a lot. Like sometimes it's kind of striped, but not like in a nice way, like not neatly, you know, not like micro striping, but like really weird, like. So I didn't like it. So then I thought, like, okay, I'll hold them together. And then I liked this. But then I was just talking to my friend randomly, casually, and she's not a knitter or anything, but I do need quite a few things for her and her kids. And we just kind of started talking about like marling, and she's like, yeah, I hate that. I hate when you have too many colors in one thing. Like I prefer that it would be just plain or like striped, but like each color is very clear what it is. Like sort of, I hope, like here. I know this is a little bit like marled, but not too much. And she did see my socks, these ones, and she said they're nice, so I'm hoping she'll like those. So anyway, I realized this would be not a good idea for her, so I didn't want to unravel, because I unraveled like a million times reknitting it, and I just didn't want to, and I thought I'll continue this for me, but I don't think I'll need a top, like bottom up. I really hate it. I hate casting on at the bottom. Like I do this Turkish cast on with like double pointed needles, and I don't know, it's just annoying. It's not hard or anything, but it's annoying. I much prefer, and I really don't like also how like when you bind off at the top, how it looks like I think it looks, I mean, I'm sure there's ways to make it look neater, but I think it stretches the best and it looks the neatest for me when I do with the way I knit, when I just cast on the sock from the top and go down. So I guess I could reverse engineer it and blah blah, but yeah, no, it's too much thinking. Didn't have time, so I did knit them bottom up, but I didn't really enjoy it that much. Like, and also like deciding where you're gonna place when you start increasing, when you should start increasing for the gusset. I don't know. It's much easier to figure out when you want to start doing the toe decreases than when you're going top down. Then when you go bottom up and you have to decide where the gusset. I think for me, maybe if you do it all the time, then you kind of know. But I don't, and I don't want to. I don't know. So I think what I'll do is I'll unravel it and I'll make either for myself or for my son or for both of us. I'll make just some like also held together some DK weight, I guess, because held together is DK weight socks from this yarn, but top down. About this pattern, I'll link below. I think it's on their website too, but it's not in Ravelry, so I didn't open Ravelry project page for that. But oh yeah, and the other thing I want to say is so it's yarn I dyed myself with black beans, and as I was knitting, it was like a little bit crocking, but nothing serious, because like the color was kind of coming. Well, I don't even know if it was a color, because the color didn't change, but anyway, it was a little bit like coloring my fingers as I went, and then but the moment I would wash them with just water, it would come off, and then I thought, okay, I'll soak them, and like lots of the extra dye will come out, but nothing came out when I soaked them. So I'm not sure. Like I did rinse the yarn once I dyed it, but I guess not everything came out. I have no idea. I did dye before with black beans on a superwash sock nylon and wool base, and that didn't seem to crock like that. I think it's called crocking, I'm not sure. Well, it just didn't seem to come off when I was knitting with it, so I'm not sure, but I didn't mind it too much because it was so easy to take off, and it doesn't go to other things. So I don't know, but I'm really happy with the color I got, and I hope she liked it too. She likes blues, so that was the idea behind it. Okay, so those were the FOs, and now I'll show you my whip. I really only have one at the moment. I'll just show you my must-have cardigan. So I did reach sort of a milestone with it. I finished the back. So I have the back and the sleeves, and now I just have to do the fronts, and I already started them. I kind of want to do them 2 at a time, more or less. So I cast on, this is the left, is it? Does it make sense? Yeah, so this will be the left front, and this is the right front. I haven't got much far with that. I think I'll just go maybe, I don't know, until I get tired, maybe a bit more, and then I'll do some on this because I want to kind of do them at the same time. But really it's pretty straight up here until you get to the shoulder, to the armhole shaping. So I might just go all the way to the armhole shaping on this one and then on this. The only modification I did with it, so this is the must-have cardigan. It's knit on 4.5. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, I'll link below. I'm knitting it on 4.5mm needles. So you're supposed to actually do the ribbing in a smaller needle. Don't remember how much smaller, maybe 375mm. But I did that with the sleeves. And I didn't like that the ribbing was smaller. I don't care much about it for the sleeves, but I'm making the cardigan a bit longer. So it's supposed to kind of hit you, based on the pictures, it's supposed to hit you like a little bit above the hip, but I wanted it to go like to the hip, or maybe even a bit longer. I'm not sure how long it will end up being. I'm kind of guesstimating there. And so the hip is like the widest part, so I didn't want it to be like all bunched up, because then it will just pull up and it'll be like this huge sweater with like the ribbing holding it, so like, you know, it'll kind of balloon up around the stomach, and I don't want that to happen. So that's why I'm doing the ribbing on the same needles, like on the 4.5 needles. The ribbing for, I did the same for the back and now for the fronts. And also you're supposed to have less stitches for the ribbing, and I did the same, and then you increase a few more stitches once you start the patterning, and I just right away cast it on the final amount of stitches so that there's more stitches in the ribbing as well, so that it'll be easier to kind of block it out, because I really want it to kind of be kind of bigger, I guess. Yeah, so that's all I have to really say about that. This is from my recycled yarn from a sweater I bought at the thrift store. I really like working with it. It's really nice. I really like how the marling of the actual yarn, like the brown, I guess, and white, how it affects, like how the patterning comes up with it, the cables, like how here it goes kind of sideways and here it goes upward. And yeah, I was a little bit worried that you might not see the cables very well with it, but actually it shows really well. So I really like it. Can't wait to have it. And seeing how quick, like this was a couple of nights, which is kind of a lot for me to get done in a couple of nights. So I'm hoping maybe to be done with it possibly by the end of March, maybe mid-March. I don't know, because then there's the bottom band. Well, then you have to block all the parts and seam them, and then the bottom band. So I think seaming would be hard, but the bottom band will take it. Although I don't mind doing the bottom band, it's just picking up all those stitches and making sure it's like not too tight or whatever. So we'll talk to that when I get to that, but this is where I am with this so far. I opened the project page for this pattern, so I'll link it down below, and I think I have some of the notes of the stuff I'm telling you about here there, so you can read it there as well. Next up, I have some mending. So the mending will look familiar because it's on the same socks. My son managed to make more holes. So I don't know what I already have shown last time. So I have some mending I've done here, and some mending I've done here, and some mending I've done here. And a few days ago I noticed that there needs to be more mending done here. So I think what happens is maybe like there's tiny holes, because he only wears it in the evenings and then in the mornings really, and then he sleeps with him. So I'm thinking that there's probably tiny holes, and then when he sits and he watches his cartoon in the morning, he just kind of like plays with it with his finger and makes them huge. So I'm really glad I caught that one early. And I was trying to think why like there seems to be so many holes with these socks, so much mending required. It's only been a few, maybe 3-4 months that he's been wearing them almost every day, but still. And then there's he has these socks that need from leftovers, and guess what? I had to mend here too. So, but I didn't, like I looked several times, and like this sock is fine, like this yarn, but here there seems to be trouble. So the conclusion I came to is that probably it's because of the yarn, obviously. So this, I think, I don't remember, I bought this yarn really long time ago, but I think there's no nylon in this yarn. It's yarn, I'm pretty sure it's a superwash yarn, based on how it feels, but it's definitely, but I don't think there's any nylon in it, because this one definitely has nylon and it seems to hold up much better, even though the strand of yarn in this one is actually much thinner than the actual yarn here. So I'm thinking that's the issue. I'm just checking the heels now. No, he seems to only do it on the balls of his feet. I think kind of slides on them sometimes too. And he runs a lot and stuff like that. So, and I also have the same, like whenever my socks need darning, it's usually here. Not that I actually ever darn them, but I noticed some socks they seem to need maybe soon. Maybe that'll be the next project. The next darning project. So yes, I'll probably fix this. And I guess that's my thoughts on yarn for socks, is that I feel like for me and my son, we need to have some nylon there. I didn't try, like the only socks I tried, yarns for socks I tried ever was either 100% merino superwash or play or not superwash, or nylon merino blends, or BFL nylon blends. And the nylon blend seems to hold pretty well. The non-nylon not so much. I had also a pair of 100% I think it was non-superwash, I'm not sure anymore, yarn, but also there was no nylon in it, and it also didn't hold that well. So that's my thoughts. I know there's like BFL Masham and all kinds of other blends that they might be more sturdy for socks, maybe even like not merino, like, you know, maybe like knitting it from like more woolly wool that's fingering weight, that might work better than just merino. Maybe that's the problem that we've been using. Well, I mean, I guess that's what was mostly manufactured, is a lot of marine, like if there's no nylon, then it's just pure merino wool, and then yeah, that might not hold well. I don't know. That's just because I've seen some people in podcasts talk about that there should be more talk about how yarn wears, and I agree. Like, it's important because it's a big investment, so it's good to know, and it's hard to find out that information because nobody really talks about what happens to the yarn 5 years down the road, or even a few months. Sometimes, I mean, people sometimes talk about whether it's peeling or not, because it's something that you can see pretty soon, but other things don't often come up as much. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that in case that's useful for anybody. And now I want to go talk about some dyeing I've done. So I've done some dyeing with natural dyes, and it's been really fun. I really enjoyed it. I've dyed specifically for a project I had in mind. So I don't remember the name of it, but it's those Advent mittens that people use for the Christmas Advent. And I've been watching Skandir's podcast for a few years, and every Vlogmas she has them, and they're so cute. And every year I look at the pattern on Ravelry, and there's like a free version, and I'm thinking like, yes, I'm gonna do it this year, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, oh, I need to buy the yarn. Oh, I don't want to buy yarn because at the beginning of the year you want to be kind of like not increase your stash, you want to use yarn from stash. And then every time I kind of like want to do it, and then because of all these reasons I don't want to buy specifically yarn for it, I kind of decide, oh, I'll do it later, and then other stuff come up and I just forget about it, and then it's Christmas, like December Advent time again. But this year I decided I had some yarn that would be really good for color work. I bought it a while ago for natural dyeing, and I thought like that's a great opportunity to use it. And so I dyed up some yarn for the Advent mittens that I'd like to kind of hopefully knit by the end of the year, but maybe that means I need to knit more than two mittens a month, which is, I don't know, not very likely, I guess. Maybe if I have half of them this year and another half next year, and then eventually I'll have them all. I just think it's really cute for the kids and fun too, and like get the sense of time as well, is to put them every day as it comes to the. So the other thing is, I didn't mention, we don't celebrate Christmas, we celebrate New Year's. So we're gonna do, I need to do 31 of them. I don't, do you need to do one for the New Year? I don't think I will do one for New Year, because the New Year is when morning, like January 1st is when we give them the presents, so I don't see any need for another thing. So yeah, just those 31st I guess I'll do. The yarn I used is, I got this Briggs Little Sport Weight. So it's a single ply, and it's very woolly wool, and actually read about it's 100% pure wool. product of Canada. It's the mill, I think it's in New Brunswick. Yeah, it's located in New Brunswick, and it's really very lightly processed, if at all. I got like the natural color, and I think like I'll see how it meets up with the gloves, but it might be nice to make maybe a colorful sweater out of them. I heard that once you wash them, they become softer, because it is a little bit, what do you call it? Rustic, as people call it now. But I don't know. I don't think I would mind it on a sweater anyway, so I think it's okay. So that's the original color, and then I dyed one full skein with black beans, and then I divided one skein into two, and I dyed it with madder and onion skins. So it didn't turn out at all the way I want. So obviously those are the two main colors I want. I know they're not very Christmassy, but I do like those colors. And then I wanted the other one to be more like yellowish and reddish, and in my head I thought they'll turn out more like darker and jewel toned. They did turn darker, but I don't know. I thought the onion will be more like gold, but it's more just like onion skin color. I don't know. It's very orangey. Although this is more orange, so this didn't turn red at all, and I think it's my own fault, because I read in the instructions how that if you want to get a true red, you need to kind of like pour some hot water, for like boiling water, for a few minutes on the dye stuff, and then put it through a sieve and throw away that, or you could keep it, I guess, but there's not supposed to be a lot of dye in that. And then you're supposed to gently simmer the dye stuff after you got rid of that first kind of like wave or whatever of pigment. And I think I didn't do that. I just tried to gently simmer, and I think I over simmered, and I think that's why I didn't get too red, but more like the orangey kind of red. But I don't mind it. I think it'll be nice in the mittens anyway. The colors do go together, so I'm really proud of myself. I labeled everything because I'm really bad at labeling. So I'm hoping it would work. But what I wanted to show you, which is really interesting with natural dye, is that I also used some of the leftovers of the dye with dyeing to DK 100% merino, and it turned totally different. Like obviously, first of all, so this would be from the leftover from the black bean. It just took, oh actually no, that's online. This is not the leftover. That's another black bean bath I did. But you can see how the merino took the dye completely differently. Which I think is really interesting, how different wools take, different kinds of wool take the dye totally different. And then this is from the leftover of the madder, and I really like this color. It's kind of like, if you see, that's the original color of this as well. It's like this really light blush color. I know I might over dye it. I don't know what I might do with it, but or add to it some other colors. But yeah, it's just interesting what you can get with like leftovers or different, like there's so many ways you can modify and get different colors from the same dye stuff. It's really interesting, I think. So yeah, so next up are trying to start the mittens. Maybe I'll start right away. I don't know. My son's birthday is at the end of the month, so I need to knit something for him, and I haven't decided yet what and with what yarn, and I don't know. I might over dye that with yellow, and then like with onion skins, and then I'll be kind of green, and he likes green, and then maybe I'll knit a hat. It's really soft. It'll be a nice hat, but I don't know. Maybe it's too thin for the winter. He has a really good hat, so I don't know if he just wants one. Anyway, I haven't decided. I don't know. We'll see. But that's all the knitting and yarn related stuff I have to share for today. And if you'd like to see some of the sourdough part, some of the baking, the sourdough part of the podcast, please stay tuned. And that's it. I'll see you in a few weeks, hopefully. Thank you for watching, and see you soon. Bye bye.
So here is how I make my basic sourdough. I put about 400 mils or grams of water in a bowl, and then I add the sourdough starter that has been fed already and reached its peak, more or less. So 100 grams is what I found to be the best, maybe even like 80 grams, between 75 and 100, let's say. Then I mix it all together, the water and the starter, just to kind of have it spread over. And then I add the flours. So I really add whatever I have on hand, as long as it all adds up to 500 grams. I like to keep it mostly wheat-based flour, so even like spelt or whole wheat, all-purpose, that's fine, just as long as it's mostly wheat. Sometimes I put a little bit of rye or something else that I have, just to kind of give it a little bit different flavor and texture. But I keep it mostly wheat so that it gets a good rise. Then I just mix it all together really, really well till there's no dry spots, no dry flour, all the water is absorbed, and it's just all very well mixed. And then I put it aside for the autolysis period. So this really lasts for maybe 2 hours sometimes less, depends on when I have time. Then I put 10 grams of salt, and I add a little bit of water and mix it all together to get the salt into the dough. The autolysis period really helps to get the water into the dough, into the flour, and then it's much easier to work with the dough and it's more hydrated. And then so you can see it's a different dough already when I'm adding the salt. After I add the salt, I let the dough sit for about half an hour, and once you add the salt is where the bulk fermentation really starts, and then after half hour I do the first round of folds. So it's really just stretching the dough all the way around about 4 times, sometimes more, and that helps to give the dough some strength. I do it between 4 and 6 times within 2 to 3 hour period. It's really whenever I remember. I try to do it every half hour at least at the beginning, or even every 20 minutes, just to give the dough a lot of strength, especially at the beginning, and then as it keeps fermenting, it's kind of okay to do it less frequently, I think. It also depends on the season, how long I let it sit outside. Yeah, I think here I did 4 or 5 folds, which is not too bad. Okay, and then after I do the last fold, about half an hour, I put some flour and put the dough on the counter, and I just do some pre-shaping. So basically I shape the dough into a ball with the scraper. It kind of helps flip the dough. So you're supposed to put it one way and then flip it on the other side, and then it's just easier to work with it this way. This is really my favorite part of sourdough, shaping the dough and mixing it as well. I really like the mixing. Then I put some flour on top, cover it with a kitchen towel, and let it sit for 10 minutes to an hour. I usually try to leave it, not let it sit for more than half an hour, but sometimes I really just forget about it. Then I flip it again. Well, first I prepare the bowl where I'm going to keep it overnight, and I make sure to put lots and lots of flour so that it doesn't stick to the towel. Then I put a little more flour on top, and I flip the dough, and then I just kind of make it into a square as big as it lets me, and then I kind of put it together as if it was an envelope, and then pinch the ends all the way around, and then turn it around and make a ball. And then I put it into the bowl, add a little bit more flour on the sides and the top, close it all up, wash my hands. And then it goes to the fridge for the night. I try to let it be in the fridge for at least 12 hours, sometimes a little bit more. The longer the better, really. Then the next day in the morning I preheat the oven with the pot to 500 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a really good idea to let it be at that temperature for about an hour before you put in the bread. Then I carefully move the bread from the bowl into the pot, and yay, I'm very lucky, no sticking. Then I just score it into this shape. That's my favorite scoring shape. I'm not doing anything fancy. I try, but I never manage. I think I need a different scoring tool for that. Then I close it and put it into the oven for about 20 minutes, 25 sometimes. and that's it. Then I take it out, take off the lid. This is very anticipated moment to see how much it sprung up. So not that much this time. I think I put too much starter, but it still tasted really well. Then I lowered the temperature to 475 degrees Fahrenheit and put it for another 20 minutes. And that's it. It is all done. And once it's cool, you can eat it. Thank you so much for watching and checking out my way of doing sourdough. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.